With healthy boundary setting, there are so many questions. You ask yourself, am I being a bad Christian because I don't loan money to my brother? Am I being a bad mother because I don't do what my adult child wants me to do? I don't allow them to live with me or ignore that they're not working a job right now. Am I not a good wife if I don't go along with having sex as frequently as my husband would want to have sex? All of these questions, right? But you could actually get some answers to all of your boundary setting questions and yet struggle. And that is because you're ignoring the number one obstacle that comes with healthy boundary setting. Today, I'm going to explain to you what this number one obstacle is and give you an idea of what you can do to finally take charge to be able to make the decisions that you need to be able to make. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Tawnya Kordenbrock. I am the person behind arenewedlife.com, and I do online emotional coaching with women who want to rewire their brains to respond differently to emotional upsets, to be able to break free from fear, anger, and shame, to be able to love themselves more, feel loved by others, and to have a deeper relationship with God. And before we go any further, I hope that you will subscribe so that you can receive more of my teachings. First, let's look at what it's like trying to figure out a healthy boundary. And if you think about this, if you are considering, for instance, your mom is distressed and she texts you all day long and she's always distressed and always wanting to text you and get feedback from you on what she should do, and you want to just put a stop to it, or let's just make it healthy. Let's just do a doable amount of texts in a day, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you notice what goes on inside of you, it really tears you up, doesn't it? Trying to decide, can I say this to my mom? Is it right to say this to my mom? Am I being a bad Christian? Am I being a bad daughter? Am I being selfish? And it just goes on, keeping you in a turmoil. But then also, if you think about, there are some other situations, aren't there, where you don't have really much of a problem at all with making a decision about, do I want to interact with this person continually or not? Do I want to go along with their request or not? For instance, this is kind of silly, but say your neighbor who you know somewhat, she lets you know, you know what? I just really hate bending over and tying my shoes. Would you please come over and just tie my shoes for me every morning? It won't be a big deal for you, but I would really, really appreciate it. My guess is that isn't really going to be very difficult for you to make a decision on. It is not going to get you that inner turmoil going. You might be a little concerned that she's just not quite right, but that mainly, you're going to feel like, no, I'm not going to do that, and I really have no idea why you thought I would do it. So what makes a difference? What is the difference between when you're trying to create boundaries with some people when you get all torn up inside, and then other people you don't, other situations you don't? The difference is the emotional connection you have with the person involved or the people involved. The deeper the emotional connection, then the more you're going to get torn up inside as to what it is that you should do. You can have all of the information in the world about healthy boundary setting, yet if you're torn up on the inside, that is, if your emotions are, kind of just taking over, they're really, really strong, the emotions that you're feeling, then the emotions will be in charge. And they will be your number one obstacle to being able to figure out what you should do or shouldn't do when it comes to boundaries. Now let's take a look at why it is that emotions are your biggest obstacle and how it is that they are actually driving your ability to set healthy boundaries. God has made us to have emotions. There's nothing wrong with emotions. And emotions are wonderful indicators that something is wrong. And there are certain emotions, such as anger and fear, that are really strong. And we are geared to take action when we are feeling those at an intense level. For instance, when you encounter a bear out in the wild, you should have some level of fear that is going to cause you to take some action, that you are going to either freeze, or you are going to run away, or if you are skilled and have a weapon, then you might attack or attack back. Okay, this isn't advice at all on how to approach a bear. But that emotional part of your brain, when it feels that intense fear, kicks into gear, these automatic thoughts that come in order to keep you safe. They automatically come and they say, this is dangerous. This isn't going to work out well. You are going to die. You need to run away. Don't stand here any longer. And they cause you to hyper focus on that bear, and that is all you can see is that bear. And then suddenly your body is automatically kicking into gear. You're breathing hard, your heart is racing hard, and your muscles are ready to go. Or you just suddenly become very low energy and you just collapse. So that is a fight or flight zone or freeze, right? The same thing can happen in relationships when we feel intense emotions. The three most common emotions that I have noted, either in myself or in the women that I work with in my online private community, are the emotions of fear, anger, and shame. And those emotions are all very strong ones that have a tendency to just get in the driver's seat and to totally take over. So here's what they're going to take over. They are going to take over the thoughts that you have. So any kind of beliefs you have about boundaries, beliefs you have about what a good wife is, what a good Christian is, what a good mother does, those emotions are going to bring up all of those thoughts about those areas of your life, or about yourself also, even about God, what God's expectations are of you, or what He desires about your life. All of that's going to just automatically arise. And then from there, you are going to have a bodily response, so that you are breathing hard, or you hold your breath and you tense up, or you withdraw. And if you think about it, whenever you are feeling angry, or you're feeling scared, or you're feeling ashamed, you probably have the same response every time. So when you're in this place where your emotions are so high and these automatic thoughts and beliefs are kicking into gear, and you're having this same regular bodily response, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you is a healthy boundary or not, because your emotions are in the driver's seat, and they are going to take you to that place of either pulling away and giving in to what anybody wants you to do, or becoming overly strong and stiff in your boundaries and what you agree to do or don't agree to do. So what can you do about this? How can you overcome this number one obstacle to healthy boundary setting? Well, the goal is not to get rid of your emotions. You're never going to get rid of your emotions, nor should you. Emotions are valuable indicators that something is not right. However, we don't want them to be in the driver's seat. When they are in the driver's seat, they're like a man on a mission. That's all they can see is where you need to go in order to get to a safe place. That's what fear is going to do. It's going to drive you to what it perceives to be safety. And anger is going to drive you to wherever it perceives is going to get you to where you are treated fairly, or you're treated the way that you feel that you should be treated, respected. And then shame is going to drive you to that place where you can hide, so that people don't see you in the way that the shameful way in which you view yourself, or that you think others view you. So those three emotions, you don't want them to be in the driver's seat. Instead, you want them to be preferably in the back seat, where they're still with you, but they're not having control. You can hear them as a backseat driver saying something, but you're just like, yeah. I know you're there, but I've got this. I know what I need to do here. I know where I need to go. So how do you do this? Well, the simple thing to do, it's very simple, but I'll give you a disclaimer, it's not easy. The simple thing you need to do is to move your emotions out of the driver's seat by becoming aware of them, becoming mindful of what it is that's going on inside of you. And when you can do that, what you're doing is shifting your response from coming from the emotional part of your brain that's driving you, but instead coming from the logical part of your brain, where you can see more clearly, gives you more space to see more clearly what's going on, to be able to think more clearly, instead of having that hyper focus on whatever it is that you are afraid is going to happen, or whatever it is that you are trying to hide from, or whatever it is that you're trying to prevent that you are angry about. So the way you do this then, when you look inside, is you ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? So instead of focusing on this other person or this situation, you're looking inside at, what am I feeling? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling fearful, anxious, afraid? Am I feeling ashamed? Am I feeling like I'm bad? So those are some different ways to word that, different emotions to look for. But when you can do that, then name it. When you can name the emotion, that helps you to take control of it. Then you can look at, what is this emotion doing? This emotion is making me think this is going to turn out horribly. It's making me think this person's going to reject me. It's making me think that if I don't help out, then down the road, this person's going to come upon a catastrophe. Their whole life is going to fall apart because of this moment in time where I didn't help them. Those are the thoughts that the emotions will bring forth and convince you that they are true. So when you can do that, when you can notice what's going on inside of you, again, it takes you out of the emotional part of your brain into the cognitive part where you can see more clearly, think more clearly, and be able to determine better what direction you can take. And we aren't always going to know. Everything for boundaries is not going to be laid out in black and white, but you want to be able to be in that place of more of a place of peace where you feel more in control. When your emotions are in the driver's seat, you are not at all in control. I do have a free resource for you today that I have created. But first, if you found this helpful, please click like and let me know. It helps me out greatly to be able to know what kind of teachings that I should prepare for you. And the free resource that I have is, you can find the link below, and it will take you to a guide called 50 Ways to Keep Healthy Boundaries that I think will really be helpful for you to understand what healthy boundaries look like. Thank you for joining me today.